Alice here for Artsy Aging with Alice. And today I'm going to show you a few ways to make paper rounds out of recycled paper. So one of the ways that you could do it is to buy a kit like this. This is an Arnold Brummer tin can paper making kit, and you would use 2 coffee cans with the bottoms cut out to do this. And it comes with 3 different sizes of mesh screen that you would put between your 2 cans, and a block of some sort of fibery stuff to press your paper with. But if you don't want to spend money for that, you could just get 2 cans with holes in the bottom, or you don't even need a hole in the bottom, I suppose, for the bottom one. Put a piece of chicken wire and some screening between the 2 and pour your paper in that way. I'll show you later some of the rounds that I've made that way. Another way is to use embroidery hoops, and that's one of the ways I'm going to show you. And then another way that you don't really need any kind of mesh or screening is to use the top or lid of a coffee can, poke holes in it with a thumbtack, and then press your paper into that. Today, the recycled paper we're working with is printer paper. This is paper that wasn't actually printed on. This has got crumpled, it had a coffee ring stain on it, things that didn't really affect the color of it, so it's quite a bright white. This is office paper that was donated to me, and it was sent through a cross-cutting machine. And usually I remember to check, but I did not this time. Whoever put this through their paper shredder used envelopes also, so the plastic little windows are in there, and I didn't think to pick those out. So they don't really work in the paper because when I press it with the iron, they melt. So if I find one, I'm just picking it out. In the other bin here, I've got this is abaca. Comes from the Philippines. It's sometimes called Manila hemp, but it's actually made from a kind of banana leaf. And this is vellum paper, which is kind of like a almost see-through paper used by architects and engineers for drawing designs on. Here we have a bunch of different colored papers, and these come from the dollar store. They're the paper shredded, sort of crinkled paper that you put into the bottom of a basket, a gift basket. And they're a kind of a thin cardstock. So it's quite stiff paper, so it adds some stiffness to our rounds. Vellum, by the way, used to be made out of stretched calfskin, and they still do make it like that in the world, and it's very expensive. This is made from cellulose fiber, so plant fiber. The other things we're going to be working with today are, we need something to put our paper rounds on, so I've got just a dishcloth thing that you put out for your dishes. We're going to put that there to put our paper onto. And these are just some cotton cloths from a sheet. We're going to use that for our couching cloth. Couching is a term that comes from the French from coucher, to lay. So it's to take your paper out of the mold and to lay it onto something else to dry. So let's get started with our embroidery hoops. I'm going to make a small one, but I've got a small and a large one here. And it's just a piece of screening put in between the 2 hoops and tightened. So I'm going to move this one away. We're going to use the small one. You can see I've got a very small amount of water in here. So I'm going to take some paper and put it in my jug. I'm going to pour some of my paper in here because I don't want that much to be going in here. That's an awful lot. I have an extra jug here with some water, so I can put some of that in. The other thing I have here is some cut up flower petals. Here I've got some of these Chinese lanterns from last year. And here I have just some flowers from my flower bed, some pansies and some geranium leaves, petals. So I'm going to put those aside for a second while we make our paper round, and then we're going to press these in. We could actually put some into the paper, so we could do that also. Just pour some right in and stir it in. That means it's going to be sort of enveloped by your paper a little more than sitting on top. I'm just going to take these petals and put them straight in. I dry them like this, straight from the plant. Oop, one got in my paper pot. There we go. So I've got the petals into my paper here, and I'm going to stir them in so that they're coated with some paper, and it's a little, takes a bit of stirring because there's one afloat. If they stay on top and don't want to sit in the paper well, I can always cover them with a little bit of the vellum because it's quite clear. So here we go. This is the fun part. You can see I'm going up to the edge, right up to the rim, and I'm pouring on the inside, not the other side of this screen. So I'm ready to take my paper out and drain it out here. We're going to put it onto this absorbent towel here and let it drain for a second. Now I'm going to unscrew the clamp here that holds these two together. So I'm going to pull this out, my inner ring out, and then I can pull my paper ring out. Oh, let's pull this over top instead. There we go. Now I'm going to put my cloth over top of it. And I'm going to sponge out as much water as I can get out of it. And I'm going to flip it over. Take that cloth off. Now I'm going to take my screen off. There we go. We've got this beautiful little round with the petals in there. Now I'm going to put another cloth over it. Hit it with that sponge again. I'm making sure my fold lines don't show into that by making sure they get flattened before I press here. And now I'm going to press it with this block. When you blend your paper, soak it and blend it, you're breaking the fibers up. So when you're remaking it into something else, you want to press the fibers together again. Because there's sizing in the paper that we're using, we don't really need to put extra sizing into the paper. So there's that beautiful round. I'm going to take it and set it onto my drying rack. Over here, I've got a clothing rack set up in the sunshine. What a beautiful day. And leave it there to dry. Another way that you can make paper rounds is to put them into a lid. This way you don't need any screen at all. So what you're doing is straining out the paper that's in the water, straining the water out of it, and pushing it right into the lid. You can see that I did this coffee can lid. And what I did was I took a regular thumbtack and I just poked holes all over the bottom of it. And then pushed my paper round into there. And you can see when it comes out, the other side sort of makes a cool round that you can make a piece of artwork with. You could take any of these paper rounds and put them onto a canvas, adhere them onto a canvas as artwork, or use them in mobiles, in window decorations. For this round, we're going to use a yogurt lid, and I'm going to use the top of it because it's got a perfect round. That's a great size for a coffee cup, a coaster. So I'm poking holes in the lid. I've got some of my white paper here, and I'm going to strain out the water out of it. And this time I'm going to add some of my colored papers. So I want to strain those out also. And I'm going to push this right in to the lid. So I'm just picking it up and putting it in and mushing it. I can add as much of the colored paper afterwards if I want. I've got some spoons in my paper here, so I can just add a few bits here and there if I want. And I'm trying to make sure that there's enough here when the water is taken out of it that it's still going to be thick enough for a coaster. So now I'm going to move my paper over here. I'm going to put a cloth over it and sponge it out. Sponge out as much water as I can. And the interesting part of these is that you can just let your paper dry right inside the lid. And it's not dry enough yet because it won't let loose the paper. This ugly old sponge is my favorite. I actually bought it 6 years ago, and when I was still living in Red Deer, in a dollar bin at a superstore, and I've never found another one like it, and I've loved it. So here is my paper round. I can scrunch in the edges like this to make the edges smooth and press those down into the round like that. When this is dry, you can coat it with a few coats of Mod Podge to make it waterproof. Let me show you one that I've made before. This was some paper that was left over from a bowl I was making. So you can see it's hard. I've got Mod Podge on top of it. I've painted the bottom of it. You can actually put a cork round or felt under it to use it for a coaster. I also have some different kind of decoupage glue from Gorilla Glue that 3 coats make it, you can actually put it in the top of a dishwasher. So you might need a special kind of finish if you're going to use a heat on it. Hi, I want to show you some of the rounds that I've made in the past. So these ones are made on this large embroidery hoop. This one has Chinese lantern bits in there and some parsley and lavender. This one I did some pulp painting with. I added some colored pulp to look like flowers and a butterfly. I added some roots and fiber here on the bottom. This one, colorful one, was just made by dribbling paper, colored paper from above in the little squeeze bottles. Here's some that were made with the coffee can. These are rounds that were made in between the 2 coffee cans. And here's, whoops, they're blowing away. Stick them under the can. Here's some more. These had some fibers added to it and some dried flower petals, some dried ferns. This one was done, I think, in a lid of some kind, and it was the end of my day, and this is often how the end of my day rounds look, because I just take whatever paper I have left and smoosh it in a lid. Here are some colorful ones that were made with bits of different colored paper added to the slurry. There's all the coffee can rounds. Here's the small embroidery hoop. These are the ones I just made. This has Chinese lanterns, and this has some of my dried flower petals just from my garden. And I saved a reveal to show you, because this one is on the small embroidery hoop, the last one I did. And this is the fun part of showing how it looks on the bottom. Ooh, so here's the top that I had. You could use either side, they're both pretty. Here's one I did with the coffee lid, just pushing the fiber into the coffee lid. You can see it's got an edge around the lid, so it made an edge around here. So you could use this to paint a picture inside there or something like that. Here are some smaller ones that were made with different lids. This one I've put a finish on and made it into a coaster. Here's some more of the end of the day ones. Here's the one I made with the top of the yogurt container. So this one I will press and I'll put a finish on it and it will become a coaster. You can put felt or cork on the bottom of them. And any of those you could add over top of a canvas, on a round canvas, put it on the canvas. You can add them to hang them to make interesting window decorations, or you can use your paper like I do, these earrings. And this pendant is made with paper that I cooked the daylilies in my yard. So this is daylily paper that I have on my jewelry. Now when you're finished making your paper, don't forget that paper going down the drain will plug your drain, and plumbers are expensive. So I have a dollar store strainer here for my sink and a sieve that everything gets filtered through, and my paper goes through both of them. Make sure that it's going, the paper itself is not going down the drain because it will plug your drains. Shown you a few different ways to make paper rounds. I hope you enjoy this project. I would love to see a group project at Lear House where we all submit a paper round and we can make a beautiful mobile with some driftwood. That's my vision. If you want to join in, let me know. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Hi, Alice here for Artsy Aging with Alice. Today we're going to be making a tote bag out of a t-shirt, and there's no sewing involved. So what you need is a t-shirt, an old t-shirt, the bigger the better, and you need a sharp pair of scissors, and you need some sort of measuring device, a ruler or a yardstick like I have, and either a pencil to mark it with, or some tape like I will be using. So to start with, you want to make sure your t-shirt is laying flat. So you want to make sure the layers are even. First thing we're going to do is cut off the sleeves. So we're going to cut right around the sleeve hole. So here we go. First sleeve, I can feel the seam there, so I'm going a little wider. I feel the back seam, my scissors there. And if it's a little jagged, it doesn't matter. We can trim it up after, or actually you're gonna stretch this, you won't notice it. Could do the other sleeve. So these are going to become a part of your handles. Now to do the neckline, you need to decide how deep you're going to go. And when I was planning this project, I never realized that there were words on the back of my t-shirt. So I'm going to make sure that I cut around the words, "Are you in?" and I'm going to leave a pair of lucky aces. So I'm going to put my t-shirt, fold it in half, and I'm going to cut it, see if I can get all the layers even here. Helps to take an extra minute to make sure it's all flat and smooth. Then I'm going to cut right around the letters here. and go right back up, and now I have created a couple of handles. Oh, I got a little jagged bits here. I can just trim those off right away. Oops. A little more jagged, we'll get rid of that. So now you can see we have two handles for our bag here. So here's how it looks so far. And at this point, you're going to turn it inside out. We're going to match up the tops, but we're more interested in matching up the bottom hem. So you want to make sure that it's laying flat and that the hem is even at the bottom. Two edges are lined up. You're going to measure up about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So since it's black, I'm using a white pencil here to give myself a mark. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to take a piece of tape. I find this the easiest method because it holds the whole t-shirt still while I'm cutting. So I'm just going to go across both lines there. I'm going to press it down, rip off this end, and now I have a guideline for where I'm going to cut. So the first thing you want to do is cut the side. So you're going to put your scissor up the side and just go up that side fold there. Because mine doesn't have seams, I'll do this first. It's a little easier, I found. And now you want to cut slits up to your tape about somewhere between 1/2 inch and 1 inch wide. So you're just going to keep cutting up to your tape like this and work your way all the way across. Now, rather than have you watch me do all that taping, I have one that's cut here, or all that cutting I mean. Here's one that's cut. Now you're going to take the top and the bottom slits that you have cut, and you're going to tie them together in one knot. You're going to do this all the way across. Pick up the next one and then tie it together. You don't have to do double knots because you're going to be knotting further still to keep them stable. So this time you just need to do one knot all the way across. So rather than watch me knot them all, we have one here that's already been knotted with a single knot all the way across. So here's how you're going to finish it. So what you're going to do is take the top of your first knot and the bottom piece of your second knot, and you're going to tie them together, and then you're going to tie a second knot that's tight. Because you can see when you do the first knot that there's still spaces in between here on the bottom of your bag. So you want to do this with all of these. Let's see, we want to make sure we've got all our knots in line here first. So I'm going to take the top of that one, bottom of this one, and put the top of this one and the bottom of that one. And you do this all the way across. So we're almost at the end here. Last one. There we go. Now I'm going to take my tape off. Turn our bag right side out again. And you can see I have a great tote bag here. I don't mind this says, actually this was one that I didn't cut the words off of. I didn't cut it as deep as the other one. And I'm not so crazy though, the poker thing on the front. So I have this button, an Artsy button. And I'm going to put it right over top of there. You can decorate your bag however you want. If you've got a lighter color t-shirt or something that's quite plain like this, you could use some paint and do some potato stamps on it, or you could decorate it with pom-poms. there you go. You got a great bag to take to the beach or to the market. I hope you enjoyed this artsy aging session. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, stay safe, be kind, and keep creating. Bye.